Hi, my name is Naomi Foreman, and this is my identity page. It contains a lot of great indicators as to where I came from, who I am, and what I plan on doing in the future. I tried to put them in some type of order, though it's a bit jumbled. I did choose the splatter on purpose because I like that sort of organized disorder, just perfectly off-center type of thing. But they're, not all in time, chronological order. Well, I am originally from New York, and no, not the city. I'm from just about an hour north from a small town called Lake Peekskill. Usually nobody knows where I'm from, so I don't even say it. Even if I say the larger county, they usually don't know where I'm from. I'm not really in upstate New York, though other people might consider it that. There's a big rain. New York is a big state, and I'm pretty relatively close to the city. I but I was raised in this more rural sort of area. Was born and raised in the same home my whole life, which is on a quiet dead-end road in a very tree-covered hilly neighborhood and a block from the lake. So this is off my porch and what I think of New York. Very lush, lakes and hills and nature. This is a gazebo at the Garrison Arts Center on the Hudson River. This is also the Hudson River. I live pretty close, so that's definitely a big part of my concept of New York. Beautiful. I spent a lot of time outdoors, swimming in nature during my childhood, and this is what New York is to me. My best friend is also from Manhattan, so I spent a lot of time traveling by the Metro North Railroad into the city. This is the nearest train station. My cousin and I are going into the city to visit my friend. So I spent a lot of weekends there, a lot of time on the train, which I love. I love public transportation. I've also driven into the city with my parents a lot to go get dinner or driven, by to go to Coney Island or Jones Beach, which this is a picture I took of Jones Beach. We don't go there as frequently as we should, but and also, well, most of my pictures are pretty edited, but I think this one especially shows that I am sort of an amateur editor, not really photographer, but something I like to do. I like to capture things I like. This is something I liked from the Stormville Flea Market, which is a really big flea market just a bit north of me. And yeah, so I think I live in the perfect in-between. Very beautiful, but the city is still very accessible. I also was in the city a lot for classes and museums as I grew up because I was homeschooled. This is one of the most defining aspects of my childhood and who I am. Just like Henry Catano, I had a small little community that was more comfortable with itself, that had certain social norms that were different than the outside world. This is not to say that I was totally isolated from the rest of society. This is a common misconception about homeschoolers, among many other stereotypes I had to deal with as I got older. These are actually two homeschooling friends that were my brother's age, siblings again, and that I grew up with, and we're part of a pretty extensive community, though close-knit, that we had. And yeah, so stereotypes, Suderman defines as simplistic assessments, and that's really what they are. What I always heard was, aren't all homeschoolers crazy religious? Aren't all homeschoolers introverted, antisocial weirdos? And we have every type of person in the homeschooling community, which I think is really interesting to actually see, but definitely never gets represented. I also had my own ethnocentrism in regards to homeschooler versus non-homeschooler. The Suderman article says that this involves a two-part assumption, that our culture is better, which I totally did, had no idea why anybody wouldn't want to be raised in this sort of lifestyle, and that other people want to be like us, which, though I never spoke with any students really that about this topic that went to school, I couldn't imagine why anybody wouldn't want to be raised like I was. I definitely still have some of these ethnocentric ideas when it comes to homeschooling. I absolutely recognize its flaws and that it doesn't work for everyone. And I know that public and private schools have a lot of positive things to offer. I attended a private school for a couple years in elementary school and attended a public high school for a couple years. but knowing isn't everything, like the Suderman article says. So I definitely get defensive of my educational heritage, even though I have a pretty well-rounded concept of education. The Lugones article mentions how you can be different in different worlds, yet always remain you. And that's also something I experienced through the different forms of education I participated in. I am more distinct, sometimes I am more distinctly different, but often it's just a slightly different shade of me, from homeschooling to private school to public school, from New York to Denver to Spain, which is where I studied abroad last fall. So, moving on to my family, growing up with the parents I had, plus the philosophy that they chose to parent with, I spent um, a lot of time with them, and we have very close relationships. This is my mom and I. Here we're drinking some green smoothies in Denver, actually. We have a lot of similar interests that we've been able to share, especially as I've grown up. Same with my dad. We have a bit of a different, maybe more challenging relationship, but always, even more so than my brother, well, way more than my brother, spent time building things with him, and we definitely have bonded over that. And they were both super into having me involved with lots of hands-on learning, out in nature, nature classes, things like that. I have one older brother. Him and I are not super close in age, but are close and have always gotten along pretty well. And as we've grown up, we've definitely learned to appreciate what we have together more. He's an animator as well. My mom and my dad are both have a lot of art interest, though all very different. My dad works with wood, my mom is painted and collaged and things like that. And again, my brother's an animator, so that's definitely kept me interested in art and film and all that jazz, which is something I'm sort of pursuing now. Our household always had lots of animals running around. These are two of my cats. This is Bubba, and this is his mom, actually, Molly. And yeah, we had cats, dogs, ducks, lizards, turtles, raccoons, skunks, birds. My whole family has always been into rescuing and caring for animals, whether it was fostering or, yeah, sitting, catch and release type things. And I always had very close relationships with all the ones that we called pets and even the ones that were just visiting. Kind of goes for my whole family, which is relatively small and pretty different, but this is something we've bonded over. These are some images from FaceTiming. Now that I'm in Denver across the country, my dynamic, the dynamic of my family is a little different. I'm sort of, one of my close cousins had twins, and while I was away, and I've just sort of been watching all these girls grow up from far away via Facebook and FaceTime, though I do try and spend time with them when I'm home. I absolutely love babies, always have, love little kids. I babysat a ton. This is just a girl I babysat for a few years, and I definitely have a very mother mentality. Um, and because of that, I think, um, because also my family was very close, I'm a very lovey, affectionate person, and I like being close with my friends. My friends and family support me so much, and so I obviously try and do that in return. This is me helping my mom set up her yoga studio. I'm gonna skip here. This is my neighbor, and her and I, um, she used to be that little annoying sister of my friend. Her older sister and I are much closer in age, but I've sort of become like an older sister to her, and we definitely share a lot of interests, and that's been really awesome thing to be able to, a relationship to have. And this is us decorating cake for her sister, actually. This is not a great picture, but we're pretty good at cake decorating. Baking is definitely something I really enjoy doing, and I'll get back to that. So, yoga is a big part of my life because it's always been a big part of my mom's life. She has been teaching yoga for a really long time, and as I grew up, I started going to her classes and learning to appreciate what yoga can do for you. This is me doing yoga on top of my brother's old office building. And it also, this is my tattoo, which is a Sanskrit saying, and used in yoga a lot. It specifically is used in my mom's. My mom uses it uh, at the end of every one of her classes. In Sanskrit, it says Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu, and in English that means, though it sounds too long, may all beings everywhere be happy and free, and may our thoughts, words, and actions contribute to their happiness and to their freedom. And this is definitely my most positive general life filter, a constant reminder to be empathetic, compassionate, and understanding, and is also a reaffirmation of my deepest passion, animal rights and veganism. In the Grind article, author says he was compelled to use his freedom to free others, and that's exactly what I'm doing, or what I guess my intention is. Here I'm at a walk for farm animals. Here I'm at a march in Madrid, Spain against bullfighting. I'm volunteered at a farm animal sanctuary. I also interned at a farm animal sanctuary for a month. This is Elliot, the goat, Ruby, the pig. This is just a quote I found that really sums up how I feel about compassion and about my passion, specifically with this sort of issue. I also chose these two images very strategically. This is a frog that I found, and I just wanted it to represent that even the smallest of creatures deserve to be considered, and that's definitely something I wholeheartedly believe. Yeah. This, on the other hand, these are two Muscovy ducks, and we had to put them back in their cabin every night so that they wouldn't be attacked by coyotes or things like that. But they really did not enjoy that, and they attacked us quite a few times. We had to sort of guide them back into their homes with a trash can lid as a shield. But I chose it because I always tell people that you don't have to love animals to know that they deserve rights, and that's something I also wholeheartedly believe. And I don't love every animal, but that doesn't mean I won't fight for their rights or fight for them to be heard. And that's sort of what I'm doing here. I'm tabling with I started with another friend, not this girl, a vegan and vegetarian club on campus, and is something I'm very passionate about and wish I could dedicate even more time to. Something else from the article that I really loved was when they talked about how part of their culture was recognizing they don't own the earth, but that the earth owns us. And here I'm on Jones Beach picking up garbage. Um, I do it every time. I spend a couple hours doing it. I know it probably has like zero impact whatsoever, but I'm compelled to do it nonetheless. So that's sort of my general mentality, and um, studying is obviously a big part of things. Friends, just in general, are really important to me. I definitely take my friends out to, we go out to dinner a lot, especially vegan food. Here, I cooked with some girls I met in Spain. And a lot of the following images are just stuff that I found funny. I do that a lot. I take pictures of things that I like. This is my club's first poster. And yeah, there's a lot more that could be said. These are meeting some people, some vegan people in Spain. I like to travel a lot. And I think something I got from all of the readings was just the recognition of complexity. Identity cannot be boiled down to this and that, to 70 pictures or a few words. As the Lithicum article addresses, you're not half of anything. For her, that was certainly more explicit, being half Navajo and half African American. But I think it is just a great example of how people cannot be categorized. We cannot be fit into perfect little identity boxes. Something else that also comes up for me through her article was the impact of first not knowing part of her heritage and then being made aware. I know nothing of my heritage, and that's sort of something I was going to say in reference to what isn't on this page. There's nothing to do with where I actually come from. I know I'm part Polish, part German, and part Ukrainian. My grandparents spoke Ukrainian, yet all I know about the Ukraine is that they decorate eggs and they eat pierogies. And I could have had this whole other huge part of my identity to identify with. So identity is fascinating, and I could go on for ages, as I'm sure we all could, but thanks for listening.